Hello and welcome. My name is Mark, this is Riffle Shuffle and Roll, and today we are continuing our Oktoberfest celebration with a little game called Farmer Henry. If it's your first time visiting the channel, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell so you're notified about new games every week. Farmer Henry is a hand-shedding, trick-taking beating game for 4 players. In this game, each player will need to beat the previously played card. To do this, they will play a card higher in the same suit. If they can't do that, they'll play a card from their personal trump suit. And if they can't do that, they will play a jack, which is the highest ranking card in the game. If a player is unable to do any of those things, they will have to collect the cards that are in the trick and add them to their hand. The first player to get rid of all the cards from their hand wins the game. With all that said, let's dive in and learn how to play. To play, all you need is a stripped down 52 card deck. The deck consists of 32 cards ranked 7 up through ace. The cards in each suit rank 7 low up through ace high. Notice that the jacks are separated. We'll talk about those in a second. The suits rank from low, diamonds, then hearts, spades, and clubs as the highest ranking suit. And that affects the ranking of the jacks. The jacks are the highest ranking cards in the game, with the jack of diamonds being the lowest, then jack of hearts, spades, and the jack of clubs being the highest ranking card. Deal out 8 cards to each player. That will be the entire deck. The player who is dealt the ace of clubs announces that they have it. They are assigned clubs as their trump suit. Each player will have their own trump suit. The rest of the trump suits are assigned counterclockwise in descending order. So the player to their right is spades, the player across from them will have hearts, and the player to their left will have diamonds. And you'll see how that comes into play here in a little bit. The player who is dealt the ace of clubs also leads the first trick. They may play any card from their hand. After a card has been played, the next player must beat it. And there is a few ways to do that. First, if the player has a higher card in the same suit, they must play it. So diamonds was led. If the next player has a higher diamond, they must play it. And they do. They have the queen of diamonds. Now that the queen of diamonds is played, the next player must beat it. First, they see if they can beat it with a card that is higher ranked in the same suit. They do not have any diamonds. So the next thing they must do is play a card from their trump suit. So their trump suit is hearts. That means they can play any heart card to the trick. They played their 7 of hearts. That beats the queen of diamonds because it is their personal trump suit. Now, the next player must beat the 7 of hearts with a higher card in that suit. They play the 9 of hearts to the trick, beating the previously played card. This trick is complete. Tricks that are completed are simply collected and placed to the side. The player that won the trick would lead the next one. So this player on the right side of the screen gets to lead the next trick with any card. They lead the 7 of diamonds to the trick. Play passes left. Now this player must play a higher diamond if they can. They cannot, so they must play a card from their trump suit, which is clubs. They can play any club they want. They play the queen of clubs to the trick. Play passes left, and now the next player must beat the queen of clubs. They can do so with the king of clubs, which they play to the trick. Now the next player must beat the king of clubs if they can. They cannot, so they must then see if they have a card in their trump suit, which is hearts. And they do. They have the 8 of hearts. This trick is completed. It's collected and discarded, and the player who completed the trick gets to lead. So it is the player at the top of the screen that gets to lead. Now let's find out what happens if a player is unable to play a card from their trump suit. So the player at the top of the screen will lead with a club. They throw out the 9 of clubs. Passing left, the next player must play a higher club if they can. They cannot, so then they go to their trump suit. They do not have any spades, so they cannot beat this card with a card in their trump suit. So then their next option is to play a jack. Any jack will do. They have the jack of diamonds, so they're going to go ahead and throw that to the trick. Play passes left, and now our player here at the bottom of the screen must beat that jack of diamonds. They have the jack of spades and the jack of clubs. Either one of those will work. So they're going to go ahead and throw the jack of spades to the trick. Play passes left, and now the player on the left side of the screen must beat the jack of spades. They are unable to do that. So they collect the cards and add them to their hand. The last player to add a card to the trick gets to lead the next one. So our player here at the bottom of the screen gets to lead the next trick. They play the king of spades. Now the player to the left must beat it with a higher spade card. They do not have a higher spade card, so they must play something from their trump suit, which is diamonds. They do have the 9 of diamonds, so they'll throw that to the trick. Now the next player must beat the 9 of diamonds if they can. They don't have any other diamonds, so they go to their trump suit, which is hearts. They do not have any hearts, so then they must play a jack. They throw down the jack of hearts. Play passes left. The only thing this player can do now is play a higher jack in order to beat the trick. They are unable to do that, so they must collect the cards and add them to their hand. The player at the top of the screen was the last player to add a card to the trick, so they get to lead the next trick. Play like this continues, with each player trying to beat the previously played card in the trick. They do this by playing a higher card in the same suit as the previous card. If they can't do that, they play a card from their trump suit. If they can't do that, they play a jack. And if they can't do any of those things, they collect the cards from the trick and add them to their hand. The first player to get rid of all the cards from their hand wins the game. And that's how to play Farmer Henry. As you can see, Farmer Henry is a fun entry-level beating game that includes hand shedding and trick-taking mechanisms, and it's a perfect starting point for people who have always been a little turned off or intimidated by more complicated climbing and beating games. I know anyone who's familiar with Duroc will immediately see how similar these two games are, but it's that individualized trump suit that each person has that really makes this game interesting. Well, that's it for Farmer Henry. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep on playing.